Here's Goodnight Olive making her move to take the lead by a head around the far turn. Raise Kane has nearly 10 lengths to make up, so does Scooby Quando, verifying the leader. Top of the stretch, Tapit Trice is coming on to the outside. Up to the mark is running late behind Master of the Seas. Set piece down the center of the course. Master of the Seas alongside Annapolis. Here's Elusive Princess coming after Maj, and Mission of Joy tries to find room between that pair. Maj has the lead. Mission of Joy second, Elusive Princess third. The champ in front. Goodnight Olive chased all the way. Tapit Trice! Tapit Trice wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
And a good evening, everyone. Welcome into the Keeneland Look Ahead. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now, and we're going to take a look at the Thursday card. It'll be day 5 of the 16-day Keeneland Spring Meet. We are a quarter of the way already through the meet with today's Wednesday card completed, day 4 of 16 in the books. We're happy to say it was a good handicapping day, despite the off conditions. 4 winners today, and we put ourselves in the plus for the meet. Now the ROI for the meet is sitting at a nice plus $8.26 up for the meet on a $2 win bet on all of our top selections through the meet, 32% win. So good start to the meet. Didn't have a good opening day, but the last 3 days have all been very productive, and today was a good one, picking 4 winners on top. We told you had to be flexible with the card on Wednesday, make adjustments. Again, updated picks available on the simulcast feed for Keeneland. We will talk about the advanced handicapping tonight. We want to stay, flexible and adjust to the conditions. It was wet off the turf today, sloppy racetrack. Expect the same thing on Thursday. The weather does not look like it's going to relent. Some pockets with no rain here in the evening and overnight in Kentucky, but it is supposed to rain a lot on Thursday, and we are probably looking at another off-the-turf situation. Be sure to check out, though, tomorrow morning. Follow on Twitter at Horseplayer Now. I'll follow at Keeneland Racing on Twitter. We'll get you the news as soon as we can find out anything definitively on the track conditions for Thursday, but I would expect to see a sloppy track again and off the turf, and we'll handicap accordingly tonight and give a little bit of a flexible situation to either way. Now, of course, we told you last night, when you're looking at a wet track, front end speed is always very difficult. In the 8 races today, all on the main track, all 8 winners were in the top 3 at all points in the race. Nobody came from far back. That's just the way it runs in the slop. You can expect that on most any track. Now, when a track is wet and it's drying out and it gets heavy and deep, that's when the closers and the stamina horses start to have their chance. But when it's kind of packed down like this and wet and the water's laying on top, horses skip over it. Horses towards the front of the pack do well. The water and the kickback and the mud that's being thrown back, dissuades the horses behind in the pack, and those horses in the front just kind of continue on. So I would expect that again. You want to see some horses towards the front in your handicapping, obviously, for the Thursday card. And as we go through each race on this 9-race program beginning at 1 o'clock, you're going to hear some of these stats where these races are very forward-leaning to start with. These are different divisions and classifications and distances of races produce some different kinds of winners typically. Keeneland has always favored speed, of course, in the main track sprints, and even in the route races, you don't want to be too far out of it unless you're a really good horse. Some of these profile of races we have are even more forward-leaning than others at Keeneland. It should be a very speed-favoring, speed-friendly racing card on Thursday. I would expect front runners to do exceptionally well. As for the racing on Wednesday, quick recap. Favorites won 3 of the 8 races on the card. 8 different jockeys, 8 different traders. Nobody had any sort of dominance for sure. Horses from Oaklawn had 3 wins on the card today. So the Oaklawn runners, Oaklawn still has about 10, 12 days of racing left in their season. They run through Kentucky Derby Day, but a lot of horses have come north from Oaklawn already. The ones who have had some success here early in the meet. Again, 3 winners via Oaklawn today, 2 from Gulfstream. And again, all these horses won in the top 3 throughout the races run today. Only 3 of them were true wire-to-wire types, but all 8 were like right up there, 1, 2, 3, and close to the pace. So that's what you want, and that's what we're looking at. As we look ahead to the Thursday card, again, 9 races on the program. The 9th and final, we'll have the Super High 5 carryover, $7,472 in the Toyota Super High 5. That wager was scrapped today because of the scratches. There were not enough horses to legally legally offer a super high five. But race number 9, not a turf race on the schedule coming up for the Thursday card. Hopefully the field will stay close enough together with the main track originally scheduled that we would be looking at a situation where we will get off a super high five on Thursday's card. So without further ado, let's take a look at what's coming up this week at Keeneland. Then we'll get specifically into the Thursday program. Stakes races this week. On Friday, we've got the Limestone Turf Sprint and the Maker's Mark Mile, $600,000 Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile. That hopefully will be on the turf this week. We're hoping maybe by Friday we can get on the grass. The Limestone Turf Sprint, that would be questionable whether that race may stay on the turf even at this point as we look out here on Wednesday evening to Friday. But then Friday's Grade 1, they'll do everything they can to keep that race on the turf. So I would expect we get to see on some soft ground the Maker's Mark Mile on Friday. Fingers crossed to that. On Saturday, 3 stakes races on the schedule. 2 of those are on the turf. The Giants Causeway for turf sprinters, the Jenny Wiley for the distaffers, and then the Lexington Stakes on the main track for potential Kentucky Derby hopefuls. If you haven't seen the entries, they are out for all the races this week at Keeneland already. Let's take a quick glance at that field for Friday's Maker's Mark Mile. Should be a fantastic race. In the main event, it'll be Master of the Seas, winner of last year's Breeders' Cup Mile, and a horse who ran a bang-up second here in the fall meet during the Keeneland Turf Mile. Up to the mark, beat him just by a nose in the race of the year at Keeneland last year. Master of the Seas back at Keeneland again, last year's Breeders' Cup Mile winner. That should be an outstanding edition of the Maker's Mark Mile on a Friday. Saturday's co-features are the Jenny Wiley and the Lexington. Field for the Jenny Wiley's got 10 of them entered in there. Chad Brown's got 4. Didia, not for Chad Brown, but Nacho Correas, one of the favorites to watch out for in that one, the Jenny Wiley on Saturday. And also on Saturday, potential Kentucky Derby, Preakness or Belmont runners with some Kentucky Derby qualifying points, 20 to the winner, 10 to the runner-up. And that could be key in getting over the bubble to get into the field for the Kentucky Derby. Lexington Stakes co-featured on the Saturday card. Horses who have Kentucky Derby aspirations, who the points might help in here. Hades the 5, the winner of the Holy Bull. A win or second could put him potentially into the Kentucky Derby. Encino, the winner of the Battaglia at Turfway. A win could put him into the Kentucky Derby on points. Liberal Arts, Lucky Jeremy. These are horses who have points, but even a win may not get them enough to get into the Kentucky Derby, but certainly horses who are coming out of big races. Liberal Arts coming out of the Arkansas Derby. Lucky Jeremy was a horse who ran in the Jeff Ruby. Prior to that, ran in the Sunland Derby. And, of course, that Sunland Derby looked better after Stronghold went back west for Phil D'Amato and won the Santa Anita Derby on Saturday. So that's a look ahead. Way ahead to some Friday and Saturday stakes races. Let's now talk about the Thursday card coming up for April 11th. Again, day 5 of the 16-day meet. Here's the snapshot of the card and how it lays out over the course of 9 races. Early pick 5 starts in the opener, as it always does. Race number 2 is going to start the early pick 4. I've got key plays in races 3, 5, and 9 on the card. We'll go over those individually. The pick 6 starts in race number 4. No carryover there. Race number 5 is your swing race. This is part of the early pick 5 and the late pick 5. It's also part of the early pick 4. So 3 different sequences, including the pick 6. So really 4 sequences swing through race number 5. You'll want to try to lock that race down if you can. That'll help certainly put together your multi-race tickets with a strong opinion in race number 5. I've got one of my key plays in that 5th race. Late pick 4 then will start in a race number 6, and on a 9-race card, the finale will be that Toyota Super High 5 carryover, $7,472. We talk about swing races and their importance when you're trying to construct a ticket and strategize your day. Today, I couldn't believe in race number 5 we had a horse who I was saying, I'm not going to make this horse my key play of the day because he's going to be too short of a price. I thought Samarita in race number 5 today was going to be 3 to 5 odds. Somehow he wasn't even favored. He went off 2 to 1, which, say a $6 winner is not going to make your meet. But when the horse should have paid $3, $6 was just like unbelievable. But that was a sequence in race number 5 today on an 8-race card that was part of all the early, late, pick 4, pick 5, early, pick 4, pick 5, late. I mean, and to me, it was a free bingo space, and you got 2 to 1. So that helped in playing the multi-race wagers today. Samarita was just a standout and somehow ended up going off 2 to 1, and a horse that we easily easily could have leaned upon the key in all the multi-race wagers. Hopefully, you were able to take advantage of some of that. Okay, let's get handicapping on the card. Race number 1, first up, 1 o'clock, first post time. Again, the early pick 5 starts here in the opener. Here's how the handicappers line up across the Keeneland.com handicappers consensus page. Scott Hazelton, Tom Leach, myself, Gabby Gaudette, Kim Nelson across the board. Let's get into the picks for race number 1, where it's a couple of horses on top in here. That Little Dixie chosen on top for me, also for Tom, and also Scott. Take Shape, and it wasn't me. So 3, 5, and 8 really have a lot of the mojo in this race, and that's exactly how I have them handicapped in here. 3, 5, and 8 for me. Starter Allowance Company here, going a mile and a 16th on the main track. Favorites have not dominated in this spot for sure. Just 2 for 15 in starter allowance routes in the spring meets here at Keeneland on the dirt. So you can get a little bit of a price. In fact, there have been 3 winners 10-1 plus in these long distance starter allowance races on the dirt, and only 2 favorites out of the same time frame. So more likely to get a bomb than a chalk in these spots. So let's see what we can do in terms of a price. Number 3, Little Dixie, is the one I've got on top in here. 5-1 in the morning line. It's Tyler Gaffleone with Mike Rivas. Rivas brings this one in from a Hawthorne base. Horses based in Chicago, had a couple wins on the card today, so that's a good sign there. But what we know about Little Dixie is she can certainly handle it here at Keeneland. She's already been here once. She came in April of last year and won nicely. She's also good on a wet track. She has a win on a wet track at Ellis Park. So wet conditions, Keeneland, and a horse who's not that far off the pace when she's running her race. I would expect Little Dixie, her last race, that's the anomaly. She usually breaks much better than she did last time. I would expect Tyler to keep her in the race. You don't want to be too far out of it. And again, in a mile and a 16th race here, inside speed's always good, no matter what the condition of the racetrack is. Short run to the first turn, and then they come off the second turn, and they only have to get to the 16th pole finish line. Look, there's no speed at all in the 2. The 1's not super fast. So if the 3, Little Dixie, can break it all, there's not a ton of speed in this race. Tyler can keep this one in the mix. Number 5, It Wasn't Me, might show speed coming off the turf. Had some speed on the grass. We'll see how that translates to the main track here. I would expect It Wasn't Me and Brian Hernandez to try to make the front and clear over and get to the rail. So to me, the 3 and the 5 are the 2 horses right off the bat that you want to kind of consider here in race number 1. Try to control the pace, get towards the inside. Start the pick 5 going 3, 5 in this particular spot. The 8, Take Shape, you could certainly use in here. Joe Sharp could be lined up for a decent day. He's got a couple different ones that I think look good on the card. 8, Take Shape is by Street Sense. Street Sense has had a great meet already, had a great year last year at Keeneland. So 3, 5, and 8 in race number 1 if you're starting off the pick 5. To the second race on the card, it's the pick 4 kickoff leg here. And in race number 2, these are 2-year-olds going 4.5 furlongs. Baby dashes, if you will. And Wesley Ward won the baby dash on the card today. He's won 2 of 3 at the meet. That's what we expect. Of the 80 we've seen at Keeneland in the spring meet since the return of dirt here in a spring meet back in 2015, we've had 82-year-old races. Wesley Ward now has won 43 of them after winning 2 of 3 so far this meet. So you start your handicapping with Wesley Ward in these races, and look, that's not overly creative. But look, if you don't like to play these 2-year-old races intra-race, use them as a means to an end. They're part of the pick 4. They're part of the pick 5. Just take the spaces if you can and assume Image of Me in here, the daughter of Hootenanny, the 8, to be very strong. I think Ward's got 2 in here. Perfect Chance is the 9, and the 8 in here, Image of Me. And when you look at these 2, I think it absolutely comes down to those 2. Her Holy Name, the 3, does get some play from the other handicappers. John Hancock trains that one. We've mentioned this several times during these 2-year-old previews. John Hancock's got 9 wins in these 2-year-old races of the 80 offered in spring meets over the years. That's second best towards 43. So it's 43-9. I can't go against the Wards in these situations. Image of Me by Hootenanny, a horse who had a couple winners here last year as a sire. Hootenanny, of course, was a brilliant sprinter here at Keeneland as well. I would expect Image of Me to be the stronger of the 2 in here. Gerardo Corrales rides the 8, Rodriguez on the 9. You can't read too much into the jockey assignments with Wesley Ward, but I would think the 8, Image of Me, is the 1. Look, Wesley's probably going to scratch one of the 2. That seems to be his MO. He's not running 2 in these races. There'll be plenty more 2-year-old races over the next, 12, 13 days. What be 11 days left of the meet after this, 10 days left after this Thursday card. So he's probably not going to run both in there. He'll take one out. Whichever ward stays in, the way to go. Let's not spend too much more time trying to slice and dice these 2-year-old races. Let's go to the third on the card, and this is my first key play of the day. This is a shot where I think, we've got a 1 1/8 maiden claimer. You might say these races aren't super trustworthy, but it's just the opposite. In fact, when we go 9 furlongs on the main track in maiden claiming company, favorites have really run strongly in these races. I don't expect to see any kind of major upset in here. So I would go with the 6 Blue Vortex. Joe Sharp trains. Sharp's got 7 wins in 1 1/8 races at Keeneland. That's a big number. We don't run that many 1 1/8s on the main track. Only Todd Pletcher and Kenny McPeak, who have a lot more horses and a lot better horses overall than Joe Sharp, they are the only 2 trainers who have won more 9 furlong races. So that tells me Joe knows which horses to run these long trips. He gets Tyler Gaffleone to ride in here. This is a winning spot. You get a top jockey. You get a trainer who places his horses perfectly. I would expect number 6 Blue Vortex to be extremely trustworthy. 2-1 morning line favorite, but I'm going to say that this is a race where people are not going to hone in a field of 10 in here. Maiden claimers going long. I think there's going to be some distrust for the favorite in here, and you're actually going to get an overlay price on the best horse in here. I'm on Blue Vortex. I think the horse is running against a little bit better competition down at Fairgrounds and should be very tough to beat in this particular spot. So my first key play of the day comes up in race number 3. That's going to be the 6 Blue Vortex. Now, the other horses that you want to kind of look at in this spot, the 4 Mayland. I think this is a horse who's going to run really well on the wet track. I like the off-track form for Mayland in here. I like the distance stretch out. Mayland, the 4, is a good play for an exacta, 20-1 in the morning line. Gabby's got this one picked on top. I've got it second. So Mayland may not be 20-1 with Gabby picking that runner on top, but we're probably going to see double-digit odds for sure for trainer George Leonard. This one, the pedigree says I can get 2 turns. Out of a broken valve mare, the stamina is on the damn side of the pedigree here, yet in, 5 career races, they've done nothing but sprint with Mayland. Mayland likes it off track. I think the stretch out first-time routing is going to be very effective. Should show more speed going 1 1/8 off of those 6 furlong races. And I don't think you want to be too far off the pace in these races at 1 1/8. 5 of the 6 winners we've seen at this kind of class level and distance in spring meets have been horses that had some early speed about them. Expect the 4 to lead them as far as they can. Expect the 6 Blue Vortex to be somewhat close within a few lengths going down the backstretch. And I think this is a 6-4 exacta play. And I'm definitely singling the 6 Blue Vortex as one of my key plays early in the card here on Thursday. Let's go to the 4th race now, and race number 4 is going to start the pick 6. No carryover in the $1 pick 6. These are maiden special weights going 6.5 furlongs, 3-year-olds and up. Now, you get some older horses in these maiden specials in this particular race. Most of the maiden specials we see in the spring meet are straight 3-year-olds. These are 3 and older. So you get some 4-year-olds, some 5-year-olds. You got the one Rock and Roll Bolt, who is a 3-year-old taking on older horses. So the older horses will carry 125. The younger horses will carry 118. That's a big difference if we were talking a distance of ground. At 6.5 furlongs, I'm not quite as excited to take the 7-pound weight allowance. Plus this early in the year, right? It's only April the 11th tomorrow on Thursday's card. So that's early in the year for 3-year-olds to be taking on older horses. We'll see. The weight allowance certainly will not hurt, but they are taking on a little tougher competition for sure when they go against the elders. But the one thing about these races is just follow the money. In these maiden special 3 and ups in the spring meets, we've had 28 of them. 15 winning favorites, more than 50% winning favorites in these races. Usually you just have a standout because you either have a really good 3-year-old on the rise, and the 4 and 5-year-olds in these races are still maidens. So that's not a good sign. So a really good 3-year-old who's well backed is probably the way to go in these spots. And I think we have one. I think we've got a short price favorite in here and one you can lean on named Jefferson Street. 4 of the 5 handicappers pick the 8 Jefferson Street on top. Coming out of some good races down at Gulfstream Park. Again, another by Street Sense. Street Sense already a couple winners this meet, had 4 or 5 winners last year at a nice percentage here on the main at Keeneland. Jefferson Street was third at Saratoga last year, second at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet after a tough start. I think from the outside, you're going to see some speed from Junior Alvarado for trainer Bill Mott, and you're just going to see Jefferson Street try to clear these and get as close to the fence as he can going into the clubhouse turn. The 1's got a little bit of speed. The 5's got speed in here. Maybe not outbreak the 5. The 5 may make the front, and Gerardo Corrales, the jockey on the 5, does like to get to the front. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 5 makes the lead in here, but I would expect the 8, Jefferson Street and Alvarado, to be sitting no worse than second or third, turning on going into the far turn and really being right in position. You don't want to be far off the lead going 6.5 here, especially in the slop. Jefferson Street from the outside is going to get a good trip from out there, not have to worry about anybody else. 5 and 8 should show the pace in here. I think if he's alongside of the 5 going into the far turn, it should be lights out from there. So Jefferson Street, a horse, I think, in race number 4 that you can lean on pretty solidly. So, look, you got Wesley Ward in race number 2. Let's review this, right? Ward's got a solid play, either the 8 or the 9 in race number 2. Blue Vortex, we like a lot in race number 3. Jefferson Street looks like a short price, obvious kind of horse in race number 4. So the beginning of this card, this is how you have to strategize things. The beginning of this card looks like it's going to be formful if my handicapping's right. And if you handicap similar to me, you might come up with the same kind of conclusion. So you're not going to play a big ticket in the early pick 4 or pick 5. That doesn't mean you won't spend a lot. That means you're not going to play a big ticket in terms of number of combinations. If you normally budget $40 or $50 for a pick 4 or a pick 5, a lot of times that's going to be all in 50-cent combinations, right? In this kind of case, I would not play a $40 or $50 early pick 4 or pick 5 with all 50-cent combinations. That's just not the way to play. If you think the races are going to turn out like I do in races 2, 3, and 4, that all look pretty cut and dry to me. And all 3 of those winners should be 2 to 1 or less kind of prices. So you want to narrow your combinations. If you still play $40 or $50 on the ticket, maybe you narrow it down to 10 combinations and play it 5 times for your $50. That way, when you hit it, you're going to hit a smaller ticket, but you're going to hit it 5 times. And it's going to be like hitting a bigger ticket because your $100 return now gets you $500 back, which is just as good as hitting a 50-cent ticket that paid $500. In fact, it's a lot easier to hit because you're actually hitting logical horses and not trying to find some crazy bombs. So these kind of situations can line up well for you to make a nice score. Similar to the a quick story, similar to the what did they call that bet this weekend? The Big 3 pick 3, right? Where it was the Wood Memorial, the Bluegrass, and then the race at Santa Anita, the Santa Anita Derby. I love Resilience, and he was only second or third choice in the Wood Memorial. I loved Sierra Leone here at Keeneland. And then at Santa Anita, I thought we can beat Imagination, who always just kind of is right there, but, you know, he doesn't put horses away. So it was Stronghold and McVeigh for me in that race. So it was 1 by 1 by 2, just 2 combinations to play that. It was a $3 minimum bet. So for $6, played the all stakes pick 5, and it paid, you know, well over $300. I mean, it was just an unbelievable return for that. So, you know, you can play focus tickets and play it multiple times. Now all of a sudden you're cashing for, you know, I think it was $250, something like that, for the $3 bet. But if you're playing a $10 ticket, a $20 ticket, because there's only 2 combinations, now you can start to see how you're adding up and you're hitting this 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 times, and without spending that big amount of money. So focus your tickets, try to attack, and get paid when you're right. That's the moral of the story. As for the other handicappers here in race number 4, Jefferson Street picked all the way across, except Gabby. She's got the 3 in there, Midway Lights. Be sure to tune in tomorrow on Today at Keeneland, see why she thinks there could be an upset in there with Midway Lights in race number 5. Let's go to the swing race on the Saturday card. It is race number 5. I've got a key play in here. It also kicks off the late pick 5. It ends the early pick 5. And this is one of our first price plays of the day, right? Because we're fairly formful here. Obviously, races 2, 3, and 4. We had a decent price in race number 1 that we liked, but this is one called Weelaka in here, the 2 horse that I've got picked on top, and I think we're going to get a price based on the other handicappers in the selector's box. Nobody else has Weelaka anywhere. 10 to 1 in the morning line. Now, this is a non-winners of 2 lifetime race, and non-winners of 2 lifetime means just what it says. Horses have not won 2 lifetime races, so they all have 1 career win. I don't care if you're handicapping Keeneland or Aqueduct or Santa Anita or any track in America at any level of racing. Non-winners of 2 lifetime, I like to find horses who have the best maiden win. They all have it. They all have only 1 career win. who won the best race out of the resumes that are out there. Wilaka has a maiden special weight win here at Keeneland during the 2022 fall meet. Nobody else in this race has a win as good on paper, and I think Wilaka's got a shot here to just kind of use a horse for course angle and a class angle. None of these other horses could win a maiden special at Keeneland at any point in their careers. Wilaka was able to do so. So you got the best maiden win on paper, and you got a good post draw in here going 1.16 miles from post number 2. And you've got a horse that we hopefully can handle an off track. That part we don't know about, but we know can handle Keeneland, a winner over the racetrack. So a winner over the course sprinting, and now stretches out in distance. I think the horse can be forwardly placed, going sprint the route with an inside post position. Wilaka, for me, those are the reasons. Inside post, stretching out in distance, a win over the track, and the best maiden win on the form for any of these horses. The other horse who's got a Keeneland win in 2021 is Fan the Fire, the 4. So I like both of those horses, even though those races were a long time ago. But look at me, look at my picks. I've got 3, 4, or 2, 4 as my picks in here, because those are the 2 horses who have won maiden specials here at Keeneland. Wilaka's was more recent by a year. And again, I just think Wilaka's got a little more natural tactical ability, and I'm going with the 2 in here at a better price. So give me the 2 Wilaka, 10-1, one of my key plays of the day in race number 5. And look, if we can connect this one, and look, again, if you go with another single or go too deep in here, 2 and 4, you beat the 5 right off Jerry, who is going to be bet down off the 9-2 morning line if the other public handicappers have anything to say about it. There's a lot of agreement on that one. So right off Jerry is going to get some play in here. We don't know about that one on a wet track. There's not a ton of wet track form in this race that can be trusted. The 7 Striking Sparks has won on an off track, but that was at Belterra, so the class would certainly be in big time question there. Dual Monarchy, the 1, has won on an off track, but has run poor here. So, 2 starts at Keeneland, got beat 33 and 14 lengths. I don't know if the 1 Dual Monarchy likes it here at Keeneland, and at 5-2, that makes that one a vulnerable morning line favorite, and nobody else has taken the morning line favorite in this particular spot. So looks like a vulnerable favorite. That's another reason to try to take a shot at a little price. Number 2, Wilaka, my pick in here, race number 5 at 10-1 in the morning line. Now, the 6th race on the card, we're just going to have to be flexible here. This is a race that's listed at 1.16 miles on the turf. I mean, we're going to set odds. We're gamblers, right? I mean, there's a 95% chance we're not on the turf for this race on Thursday as we handicap this Wednesday night. Again, if you're watching in the archives on Thursday morning, you may already know the track conditions and the announcement. Be sure to check, like I said, social media handles at Keeneland Racing. Also check out at Horse Player Now. I'll try to give any information I can as soon as I find it out on Thursday. But, on the main track, these are the picks that we submit in advance for the website. So the Keeneland Handicapper, Keeneland.com Handicappers Grid. My picks in here are for the turf. So I've got it for turf 11, 2, and 4. And in the spot, Papilio is not a horse I would want on the main track, nor is Papilio a horse who's going to stay in the race if it's on the main track. This is a turf horse with turf pedigree and a turf resume, not going to run on an off track. So let's just look at it in terms of who we like in this race if it comes off. I've got it 13, 2, and 6. Looking at it in some advanced handicapping, we've got to see how the scratches all shake out and here who's left in the race, because it's hard to handicap in advance for an off the turf. You don't know if it's going to be a field of 4, 5, 6, 8, how many other speed horses are in a race, how it might shake out. But I do think the 13 Story Hour is a horse who's got good off track form, coming off a win in the slop at Oaklawn last time. Robbie Medina trains. Of course, Medina will have Liberal Arts, one of the horses I think has got a big shot to run Saturday in the Lexington Stakes and maybe make his way to the Triple Crown next. I would expect Story Hour to be very strong in this particular spot. Has run well at Keeneland in the past. We saw 2 Oaklawn horses win on the sloppy track today. They carry their form from Hot Springs up here in the slop. I would expect Story Hour to be extremely tough in here out of the 13 post as the 1. Number 2, Row Town is good on turf or on the main track and really synthetic as well. This horse has won on the main at Gulfstream back in February of 23, has won on the synthetic at Gulfstream, and last time out won on the turf. inside speed with the 2 Road Town. You have to respect the 2 in this particular spot, no matter what. I don't know if the 4 would run if they stay if they go to the dirt in this spot. Pleasant Passage, that's probably another one who would scratch. The 6 Woohoo Jackie Blue, my third choice on the main track, has run okay, but I don't think that horse stacks up with the other 2. I would go 13 and 2 on the main track. 13, 2, 6 are my picks. But if you're looking at multi-race bets and who you really want to focus on, race number 6, 13 and 2 would be the main players in there. I don't know how the other handicappers across the selectors box have made their selections, based on turf or assumption of main. But the fact that everybody's got Papilio in there tells me they were probably handicapping for turf as well. That's how we line it up, and we'll make the adjustments when we know something different. But again, for me, I'm looking at 13 and 2 in race number 6, different from what you see published there. To the 7th we go next, in race number 7 on the card is the start of the final pick 3 on the program. No other major multi-race wagers are going to start in this particular spot. This is a dual condition claimer. This is for horses that are either 3-year-olds or have not won 3 races lifetime. So you can qualify for this race 2 different ways. I don't think any of the 3-year-olds took a stab in here, though. These are all older horses, all 4-year-olds and up in this particular spot. You got some horses that run well but kind of flatten out in the lane. I think somebody who gets in front and stays in front could be effective in this race, or somebody who gets the last shot at it. And I think the horse who might get the last shot in here is named Yono. And I'm going to take a shot with this one in race number 7. The 5 Yono's got a long shot look in here. Luan Machado rides top rider at Turfway Park this winter. This is a horse who won from just off, from fairly far off the pace, but was sitting 4th in the race at Belterra in the slop. So, you got a little wet track form there. 2 for 2 on off tracks for Yono. And has won here at Keeneland, won a maiden claimer back in the 21 season. So you don't see the win on the form for Yono, who is 1 for 4 lifetime at Keeneland. That was in 2021 that the victory came here locally. I just don't like the finishing oomph of the horses in this race. So I'm looking for somebody to kind of finish off the deal. It's not one of my key plays of the day, even though the 5 is 15-1, because I'm trying to bet a closer on a track that's probably not going to favor closers. So I think the race shape will set up good for the 5 Yono, but I don't know if the track will play towards a potential win by Yono in this spot. So I like the horse on top. I will play the horse. I hope to get somewhere around that 15-1 morning line. But if it was all things equal, a dry track and things fair, that sort of deal, then this would be one of my key plays of the day. Let's see how it plays, right? This is race 7 on the card. So if we're 6 races into it, we've seen some horses make up some ground and do okay from off the pace. Didn't happen today in the slot, but if it does happen tomorrow, then maybe Yono moves up a little bit more, right? And when I say moves up, it's your confidence level moves up, and that means how much more money you would bet. If you're normally a $5 bettor, this is a $5 bet, He's not a best bet of the day to put 20 on if you're a $5 bettor. But if the horses are closing from off the pace and there are a chance for a horse like this to win, maybe you go up to $10, but you're still bucking you're probably still bucking it and going against the grain and trying to win from off the pace. I just think this race sets up for one off the pace. So I'm going with Yono in race number 7 on the Thursday card. Other handicappers across the way, there's no love for Yono anywhere. So we're on Yono Island, and I always like that. So that's a good spot to be when your handicapping is outside the other public handicappers. Be confident in that. Don't ever look at it and say, I must be wrong about this. You've got a reason you like a horse. The fact that others don't like him helps you in the pari-mutuel game. The losers pay the winners. That's the way we do it. So never feel like somebody says like, oh, this horse is dead on the board. Dead on the board means, you thought the horse was going to get bet and now they're not getting bet. I've never been upset that one of my horses was dead on the board. It just does not bother me whatsoever. I mean, if I thought I was going to get 4-1 and the horse is 8-1, that's what an overlay is, So for an optimistic or a smart handicapper's overlay is a pessimist dead on the board. Don't be a pessimist, be confident in what you like and go after that, and know that the bigger price, that overlay price, is what you're hoping for. You're trying to get more than you should. That's your edge as a horse player. Okay, let's go to the 8th race on the card. The 8th race is Late daily double starting. Remember, the daily doubles roll throughout the card here at Keeneland. Reduce takeout down to 15%. That extra 7% in the takeout back in your pocket. So keep sending it in on those daily doubles. 8th race, tough to handicap in advance because this was the other turf race on the card. Obviously, my picks were turf-centric, 5, 9, and 12. If this race comes off the turf, let's just change things all the way around here. I'm going for a long shot in here on the morning line. But again, the morning line means nothing here. I know morning line makers take a beating sometimes with criticism. This race was lined to be on the turf, and it was lined for the number of horses that are in the race. There's a percentage, and these horses all have to equal the percentage of the bets. So once there's 1 scratch, 2 scratch, 3 scratches, the morning line and the math just don't work anymore. So just throw them out. But I do have a horse who's 20-1 in the morning line in here if it runs on the dirt as expected. That's number 7, Gunton Rose. Gunton Rose is probably 20-1 on the turf, but if this race is on the main track, I think this horse can be effective in this spot. Has some front-running speed coming off the synthetic at Turfway Park. Paulo Lobo, respected trainer, goes to Machado in here. In the slop with speed. There's not a ton of pace towards the inside horses, and you can expect a ton of scratches, right? I mean, the 1's going to come out of this race. The 2's going to come out probably. Maybe they keep the 3 in this spot. You think the 4 stays in there. The 5 definitely comes out. The 6 may come out. But the 6 doesn't have any speed. So Gunton Rose, the 7, basically has the 4, Uncle Jake, to beat to the first turn. Otherwise, you're looking at a horse who's probably going to be speed on the rail and just try to take them as far as they can. It's a mile and an 8th race here. And as we talked earlier, a lot of times these mile and an 8th races profile good to front runners. The pace isn't as fast as mile and a 16th races. I would think number 7, Gunton Rose on the dirt, has a chance in the slop to be very effective in here. Also look at the also eligibles, main track onlys, 13 and 14, Giant Game and Hayes Strike. Both of those are horses who's had several cups of coffee and big stakes races. Now they'd be back in the allowance ranks, but they do fit like mile and an 8th type distance runners. They're class, so 13 and 14 are to be respected. I've got this race 7, 13, 14 if we go to the main track. Gunton Rose, though, we're going to just try to speed pop them, go to the front, and see how far we can take them in the slop at, which should still be a price. But again, that 20-1 morning line, no clue what the price could end up. But looking at that form and who else would probably be in the race, even if it's like a 5-horse field, you're probably looking at no better than like the 4th choice in the betting. So we're going to get a decent price on Gunton Rose in race number 8. So that leaves us with the 9th race on the card, and that's our final key play of the day. Super High 5 in this race does have a carryover of 7,472. Super High 5 picked the top 5 finishers in order. I'll give you the first one. You've got to come up with the other 4. How's that? One of my key plays of the day comes up here in the last. It is Rockstar Doctor. Tom Leach and I are in simpatico on this one, and not a lot of love around the rest of the handicappers for the 9 in this particular spot. 15-1 in the morning line. Yes, please. Mike Maker, Tyler Gaffleone. We'll see if we can get that kind of price. Probably not the case, but I think we can still get a fair number in here. Rockstar Doctors, 1-for-1 over the track. Likes the racing surface here at Keeneland, and not only because they're 1-for-1 over the track, but because sired by Connect. This filly's by Connect. Connect had 5 winners from just 19 starters last year on the dirt at Keeneland. That's hitting over 1/4, 5 out of 19. So excellent percentage. The Connects run well here, going long. So Rockstar Doctor, the 9, Tyler Gaffleone riding for Mike Maker. That's going to be my key play here. And again, this is a race for non-winners of 2 lifetime claimers. If you go through, this is what I do in my past performances. I circle the maiden win for every horse that I can find. If I can't find their maiden win, I go search their name at Equibase and get their career past performances and see what they won for in the maiden ranks. And you go down, the 1 won for 7,500 maiden, the 2 for 15, the 3 for 75, the 4 for 7,500, the 5 for 20,000, the 6 for 30,000 at Fairgrounds, the 7, 30,000 at Fairgrounds, the 8 won for 15,000. The 9 won for 30,000 at Keeneland. That, to me, is the best maiden win in this field. I'll take 30,000 at Keeneland over 30,000 at Fairgrounds. And then the 10 on the outside, Perfectly Wicked, won for a maiden special, but at Laurel Park. I would take a Keeneland 30 over a Laurel maiden special. You could argue that, but anyway, you look at at it, the 9 and the 10 probably have the two best maiden wins on the form in here. So you got the best maiden win for maiden 30. You've got a pedigree to like the track. You've got a horse who's already run and won over the track. You got Gaffley on Maker. There's so much to like about the 9. We will make that one of our key plays of the day and wrap it up. Tom Leach and I both on this one. So we will row the canoe together, me and Mr. Leach. As for the other public handicappers in here, the 6, the 7, 10 also get some top love in here. The 10 wicked, perfectly wicked. I talked about that one winning at Laurel. Brittany Russell brings this one in from Maryland, gets Irad Ortiz to ride. Plenty of class in here, so I would not be surprised if the 10 runs well, but I think it'll be a shorter price than probably should be. Doesn't stand out on the numbers if you're into the speed figures and the buyers, and the Maryland horses just haven't really stacked up that well when they've come here, despite having good-looking form. So I will take the 9 in here as one of my key plays of the day, and we'll hope to get out with just a straight win bet here and not get too crazy late in the day. Hopefully we can get 5-1, 6-1, maybe not 15-1, but at 5-1, 9-2. I'd take $11 on this horse. You can get 9-2 on Rockstar Doctor to wrap up the card. That's still a best play of the day in terms of value for me. So that wraps up the card for Thursday. Again, be sure to check out today at Keeneland, tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern with Scott and Gabby. They'll give you your first look on track of how things look at Keeneland in terms of the conditions, the scratches and changes. And then we adapt from that point forward. Be sure to check out the simulcast signal as you're playing throughout the day. I'll update my picks with the graphics department in TV and based on the scratches and who's left in the fields. And you'll get all my updated picks if you're watching in on the simulcast. So that's a wrap. Have a great night, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow as we preview the Friday card. What a great show we're going to have tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern because we're previewing the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile featuring the Breeders' Cup Mile champion in their Master of the Seas. So, hey, Mother Nature, get it out of your system if we have to live with this one more day on Thursday with no turf racing, fine. But please get us back on the turf for Friday. We want to see those superstars run over the grass course in the Maker's Mark Mile. Have a great night, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.